We are here for episode 18, What We Watch When We Drink. What are we calling this thing?
The boys are back in town.
Well, it's been a while, so where have we all been? Why are we all back in town? Where'd we go?
I was in Maui. Mike, where were you?
And you came back. I don't know why you came back.
Because I ran out of money.
That's true.
He had
I said, get out.
He had a podcast to record, okay?
I went up to Canada. I was in Maine for a week. Got my passport stamped and everything.
Wow. You went
nice.
to a foreign country?
Maine. I went to Maine. I went to Maine. That's Canada.
Pretty much
sure.
it's Canada adjacent, but
They asked for documents at the border. I don't know what's going on.
And Aaron, you were moving kids into college,
I
right?
was in Massachusetts. So I was also in your Eastern time zone, yes. So we are all back in town and ready to talk TV and whiskey and whatever else comes to mind, right? Movies, streaming. We like streaming, especially old guys. We're always talking about streaming or lack of streaming, maybe.
Yeah, hoping we can get a good one every once in a while.
All right, listen. Let's roll the intro real quick, and then we'll come back and do our jibber jabber. Lots of jibber jabber. Welcome to What We Watch When We Drink, a booze dancing media podcast featuring lively discussions about movies, TV shows, and anything else that we're watching while we drink our favorite boozy libations. If you enjoy this podcast, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever else you get your podcasts. And you can find us on boozdancing.com, and by all means email us at boozdancing@gmail.com. We'd love to get your comments, questions, show suggestions. What else could we get? Dear John letters.
Love notes.
Drink suggestions, please. Send the drink suggestions.
Drink suggestions,
that's a great
yes.
one.
Have those
Yeah.
than the Dear Johns.
Oh, yeah. And we accept booze gifts. We'll take that too.
Don't tell the IRS.
It's a gift. It's not
Oh,
cash.
good.
Exactly.
Well, speaking of
It's a gift. It's okay.
booze suggestions, what are we drinking tonight, gentlemen?
Yes.
Do we have any drinks?
What are we drinking?
I was unable to join you guys when you had the folks from Impex on. And they were kind enough to send me the box that you went through with your Caol, the Orkney, and those two rums.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought I would
we were
drink those
with,
tonight. And I'm starting with the Caol 12 here, the 58.4.
So that is from the Impex collection. Is that what it was called?
Yep.
Right?
Yep, the Impex.
Single cast stuff?
Yeah, that's when we had, with Chris Udi.
Right,
Yep.
when you had Chris
With
Udi
Chris on. Yep.
That was a nice
That
chat.
was a nice chat, and that is some good stuff.
And from hearing the chat, it seemed like some pretty good whiskeys and two good rums.
very
Yeah,
So
I'm
I
actually
thought,
interested.
I will drink those.
I'm actually really interested in those rums that are coming as well. They had like 10 barrels, I think he said? Something like that? Definitely.
Something.
What do you got, Ange? What are you drinking?
I, in one of our little family road trips back in, I think, Memorial Day weekend, we went down to Virginia, and we were going down to Shenandoah National Park and Luray Caverns and all that. But on the way, the wife was kind enough to allow me to stop at Catoctin Creek. So I picked up a little sampler pack from Catoctin Creek. It's their Roundstone rye, but it comes in 3 different proofs.
Oh.
So it's 40% ABV, a 46% ABV, and then there is the cast strength, which comes in at a Yowza 58% ABV.
Well,
So it's the same whiskey, but different proofs.
interesting.
So, which is kind of cool.
Very good.
So we tried them at the distillery, and I said, you know what, let me get this, and we could try it out.
Those are good people over there, Becky and Scott.
They are
They're
very
very
nice
nice.
folks. I met them once
Yeah,
or twice.
we have.
They're very nice people.
And our whiskey club, Southern California Whiskey Club out here, we just had a Epic. That was the name of the tasting. Epic. Mostly cast strength Kilchoman tasting. So I am drinking the extras from that tasting, and I'm starting off with something light, the 2021 Machir Bay, brand new, just the standard bottling, 46%.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's a nice whiskey.
it is.
We do a quick clinky.
Clinky, clinky.
Clinky. Ready?
Cheers.
We have not been together for a while, so I thought we'd start with our normal place of beginnings, is where we've been and what we watched. And, last time we talked, we actually did talk about the Olympics. It's been so long. And you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, remember, like I said, I went to Maui, so I had a good 24 hours on a plane back and forth. So I had a lot of time, and I didn't sleep a wink. So I had a lot of time to watch movies and TV.
Did you download things to take with you, or did you watch stuff that's on the from the plane?
Actually, I did. I watched one movie on the plane, and everything else I downloaded on my iPad.
Wow, look at you, fancy.
Nice.
So I was prepared. I had many, many things, and I just, put my headphones on, and I was good to go.
With your mask on? Did you have a mask on?
Yep, mask on the whole
You're
time.
so
just kind of
COVID
like.
safe.
Well, it was either that or get thrown.
Yeah,
off
you
the
don't want an
plane.
air marshal bugging you.
So
You don't want that
pick
again.
one. It's a small price to pay. It was a very, very small price to pay. Yeah, but I watched a lot of stuff. Now, I watched a few things before that. You got my boys onto this whole anime kick. I don't know if it was you or if they just kind of fell into it. But there was a movie on HBO Max by a director called Makoto Shinkai. And I watched it with my youngest, called Weathering with You.
Oh, don't know that.
Have you seen this
No.
yet? It was very cool. It was very, very funky. It was, it's an anime movie, and it takes place in Tokyo. And Tokyo is going through this, perpetual downpour. It's just raining for days, weeks, months. I think it just wouldn't stop raining. And I don't remember all the details. It was pretty funky. But there was a woman or a girl who had this power to make it stop raining. And it was like a love story, and there was this whole thing with the rain, and it was really, really beautiful to watch. I can't even explain it, but it was really cool, really, really cool. So this kid runs away from his home village, goes to Tokyo, starts doing all these little odd jobs, falls in love with this girl who just happens to have this magical power. All these things. It's very confusing, but it's a really, really beautiful movie, and the music is fantastic. The music is really fantastic. I think you would enjoy it.
Sounds cool.
I'm not explaining it well at all, but I saw it about a month ago. And it's
Here's my
just
terrible explanation. Rush
Go
to
watch
see
it.
terrible
Sounds
explanation.
great.
But it's really, really good. Well, what's interesting though is when you looked at the dubbing, they had all these American actors doing a lot of the voice. I think one of them was like Alison Brie, and a whole bunch of others for the dub track. But the boy was like, no, we're watching this in Japanese. So we watched it in Japanese. They may have had Matthew McConaughey doing voiceover for it. Yeah, it was quite the star-studded cast. Yeah, but I was like, no, we'll watch it in Japanese because it just never really syncs up. No matter how much effort they put into the dubbing, you really can't beat the original language. So, but check that out if you can. Now, on the plane, on the flights, I watched. There was the final cut of Blade Runner on Netflix, the original Blade Runner with Harrison Ford and Rutger Hauer. And who else is in it? Sean Young. Remember Joanna Cassidy?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And Daryl Hannah. And one of the Daryls from the Bob Newhart show.
Daryl,
Really?
Larry, Daryl, and
I
Daryl.
can't think of his... And the one who was in Deadwood, too. He was the innkeeper.
Oh, yeah.
I can't think of his name, but he's in it, too. You've seen Blade Runner,
Yep.
right? It holds up pretty well. It really does. And the special effects, I don't know if they remastered it or what, but it held up really well, and I think he shortened it to under 2 hours. So that made it a lot more, manageable on the flight.
Was it edited?
So I watched a little
that
bit.
was from the movie, from the whatever airline you were on?
No. It was on my iPad.
On your iPad,
I
okay.
downloaded it. Yeah, so I think Ridley Scott has edited the movie at least 4 or 5 times over the last 40 years.
Doesn't he have things to do?
And he just keeps playing
other
with
new
it.
things to play with?
Yeah, he probably just hangs out one night, breaks open a bottle of scotch,
Hey!
and says, I'm going to play around.
I can make this movie
I'm going to do
better.
another edit of Blade Runner
Again.
Yeah, he's done a lot.
And I'm going to find
what
the
else?
same cast of characters to go out and watch the movie again. So I get the same amount of money over and over.
Well, I got it as a download that was part of my regular subscription, so it didn't cost me anything extra. What else did I watch on the plane? I watched the Graham.
The guy from Blade Runner is William Sanderson.
Well, that's it. Yep, that's him.
He's Larry, and my brother Daryl, my other brother
Yes,
Daryl.
that's
He's in a bunch of movies.
He's really good.
He's
Good
playing
character.
a southern, hillbilly-ish kind of character.
Yeah, he's good. He's really good. No, well, he played a pretty bright guy in this one. I think he was like the tinkerer, the guy who worked with the guy that invented the androids or whatever they're called. Watched the Grand Budapest Hotel. It was a Wes Anderson film from a few years back.
Isn't Bill Murray in that?
Bill Murray's, I think, in a lot of the Wes Anderson movies. But Ralph Fiennes is the lead in this.
As the hotel manager?
Yeah, have you seen it? Have you ever seen this?
Yeah.
It was
a while
really
ago.
good.
A while ago.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And much like most Wes Anderson films, if you had to describe him as a different profession, he's like a Swiss watchmaker. The way he makes these movies, just like the precision, of the way he does these things, it's just so calculated between the way it's shot and the scenery and the costumes and everything.
I think that's one of his. That's his thing. That's.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He's like a control freak. It was almost like a live action Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Oh
yeah,
good.
It was almost like that. It was really good. It was really, really well done, and it was interesting. The music and the photography. The acting is very staged, but it works for his films. I think it works for what he's trying to do. Oh, I watched that movie with Bob Odenkirk. Mr. Nobody or Nobody.
Him and his family, and somebody breaks into their house, right? And he takes charge.
Yes. And apparently he was like some kind of how they describe him. He was kind of like when everything goes wrong and things can't be settled, he's the guy they send in.
Right.
So I don't know if he worked for the CIA or the FBI.
So he's the guy whose house you don't break into?
Exactly.
Well, is that how it's... Isn't he... So in the beginning, he's this... That's his occupation when the movie starts, too? Or he becomes that?
No. He's out.
He becomes that, right?
He's out. He's out of his former line of work, and he's trying to live a normal life, working for his father-in-law at like a, I don't know, some kind of foundry or some kind of metalworks. Every time he thinks he's out, they drag him back in. Just like John Wick. But it was all right. It was entertaining. It was kind of interesting to see Bob Odenkirk as an action star, especially when you know that he just had a heart attack like, a month ago.
I heard a couple interviews with him. He was on Howard Stern, and he talked about how some of it was based on real things that happened in his life. His home was broken into, I think, twice, and he has small kids. And you're totally, PTSD and scared, and you don't know what to do, and you want to be that guy in the action movie who's going to, like, pull the gun from under the bed and, save your family, and that's not really how life is, of course. And so he kind of had some background in a little bit, and he actually had to go to learn how to do all these shooting scenes and the action stuff, and he had never done any of that before. And he seems like an interesting person and that character. I didn't see it, my wife saw it, but that would be an interesting franchise to see him kind of keep doing the same character.
Yeah, because he's not your typical hero.
No, exactly.
No,
that's why.
Absolutely
kind
not.
of need to see what happens. Yeah.
I mean, it was all right. It wasn't bad. I mean, he was good. And you know who plays his dad in the movie? What's his name? Doc Brown from Back to the Future.
Christopher Lloyd. Wow, really? Wow.
And of course, it's kind of funny because Christopher Lloyd gets to take a few folks out as well. So it was.
And does he have a background in law enforcement too?
I don't know, but he's pretty good with a shotgun. That's all I'm going to say. I think that was all I watched on the plane. Since I've been home, I watched Schumacher documentary on Netflix.
It's on my list of things to watch, for sure. Michael Schumacher, the F1 driver.
Did they show him now? Like, is he mobile? Can he speak? Did they show any of that?
They did not show him at all.
Okay.
They interviewed his wife. They interviewed his kids.
And I think his son takes care of him, right?
One
One of his sons takes care of him.
Yeah.
They didn't get into a whole lot of it. I mean, it almost sounded like, look, he's a great guy. He went through a lot of stuff. We're not going to show him.
Yeah. I just didn't know if he progressed at all with his
I don't know,
with his therapy, because what happened to him is that's just tragic.
It's been 7-8 years.
Yeah, well, and you'd expect it to happen on the track, and instead he walks away from the track, and it happens while he's skiing.
He was a very interesting guy. Hell of a driver.
Yeah.
He sounds like he was really close with his family, and he was always doing stuff with his kids. When he retired, it wasn't just like whatever, moping around or just kind of. It was all about family. So I watched that the other night. Did you guys watch Suicide Squad?
The second one?
Yeah, the second one. The
no,
remake.
I haven't seen it yet.
Better than I thought it was going to be. I didn't see the first one. The first one looks awful.
The first one was fun. It's suspend your disbelief and realize it's not a Marvel movie, so it's not going to be top tier.
It ain't Shakespeare.
It ain't Shakespeare.
But you have to believe that it's Shakespeare.
Right.
That's
Yes.
That's the difference.
It's all the ass kicking that makes you believe it's Shakespeare.
Oh, and it was really awful. It was I fell asleep. Godzilla versus King Kong.
Did not
I saw
see
that
it
in the theaters.
Oh, that was horrific. That was horrible.
That was a special kind of Godzilla movie.
Oh, is it me, or did it just look like it was animated the whole time?
No, it was super. It was really good. Really, really liked it.
Is
No,
there
I have
is
no
there a
idea
big
what's going
name
on
star in
the
that movie aside from Godzilla and King Kong?
There are a few people, but I can't think of who they were. It was not a memorable film.
Yeah, I was hoping
Definitely
that
not
you'd have as good a movie as Skull Island, Kong Skull Island, which was good. You had real actors in it, and this was just not quite the same film.
So we're not going to recommend that movie tonight.
Oh, I tell everyone to go see movies that are really good. Why should they get off
Of
easy?
all these
Go
movies
see
that
it.
I mentioned, if you're going to watch any of them, I would say Weathering with You, Blade Runner Final Cut was kind of worth it to go back to it. Grand Budapest Hotel was great. Schumacher was worth watching, and The Suicide Squad was kind of fun. But Godzilla vs. King Kong, was
Hard
horrific.
pass.
Absolutely horrific. Yep. How about you guys?
Mike, where you been on TV World, Movie World?
I saw Free Guy,
Oh, how was that?
Oh, how was that?
actually in a movie theater.
With
And,
Ryan Reynolds?
Ryan Reynolds.
And-
he's just so much fun. He really is.
He is.
Uh-huh.
And he gets like he's all in on the character, and he's just everything about it's just so silly. And he's a non-player character who discovers that he's a non-player character, reliving the same day over and over again as he's playing in this game. And then he decides that he doesn't want to be a non-player character anymore. He wants to be the guy who gets the girl. So it's actually kind of funny. But they write in another character who is him, but like the superhero build, like where he's just 6'6", he's 300 pounds, he's all cut and all this, but they haven't been able to finish him yet. So he's got like a stupid toothless grin, and he's over there, and they didn't finish all his dialogue yet. So he just keeps going around and he'd do stuff, and he'd go catchphrase, and it's so funny because you're like, that's how they write these things, like. Okay, we'll fill that in later. As they're putting the computer games together. And it was just really a lot of fun. Really was. He's really just, I think doesn't take himself too seriously in these movies. Maybe as a real person he does. I don't know. But he's all in as the character. And it was really well done.
Ryan Reynolds is just funny in almost everything he does. And
Yep.
maybe he doesn't make great movies or great pieces, but he's very entertaining. And he's very entertaining just in interviews. His whole career's been that way. Has he even tried to go into the serious stuff?
I think he realizes that he'd rather have a pile of money on his mantle
Yeah.
than an Oscar.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make movies that people want to go see, not movies that people want to go talk about 100 years from now as being the best movie of all time.
Do you guys remember that
You know,
sitcom
so-
he started in? Two guys.
Two guys, a girl, and a pizza place?
Yeah, he was.
No, never heard of it.
He was so great in that. He was so
yeah.
funny, and I think that was mostly everyone's, at least in the U.S. First time you saw that guy in any big vehicle. He's so funny, so funny. How is Jodi Comer in?
She's an action hero. You see her in other stuff,
Yeah.
but she's in that Killing Eve, right?
Yeah, Killing Eve.
She's got the action patter down, and she looks like she really worked out with the guy who fires the guns and rides the motorcycles and all that kind of stuff. Where the action sequences are like, these are really well done. They're choreographed really well.
Is she the love interest in that?
She's sort of what makes him want to not be a non-player character anymore. Where he's like, hey, I kind of like her. Where's she going? Let me go follow her somewhere.
She seems like she could do a lot of different things. She could probably do drama very well, and she definitely can do comedy and physical comedy. I think she's just really talented.
And I think she has a physical appearance that you can work with.
Yeah.
Kind of like the woman who plays in Guardians of the Galaxy, and then she's Ruby Roundhouse, and you can't believe it's the same person because she's Nebula,
Karen
this
Gillan?
old blue character, and
Karen Gillan.
here she is as Ruby Roundhouse, where she has an appearance that, not that it blends in or you don't pay attention to it, it's adaptable to the next role. Where I didn't see Killing Eve when I saw her in Free Guy. I saw whoever this, smoky character she's supposed to be is this person off to the side. So we saw that, and I had a couple of bouts of insomnia, so you watch whatever's on. And I watched Draft Day, which is the Kevin Costner football movie with the Cleveland Browns. But I watched that, and every time it's on, I seem to have insomnia, and I watch Armageddon. It's so bad. I think it comes back around to being good for me. Where I watch it and I'm just like, boy, this is just.
That's the blow up the asteroid movie, right?
Yeah, where we decide not to train the astronauts to mine. We send miners up to be astronauts for 10 minutes and see what could possibly go wrong there.
Well, I mean, that movie is like what's it called? It's like Full Metal Jacket. It's all about the training sequence.
Oh yeah.
And after that, it's like whatever.
And Buscemi
Forget
has a
about
couple scenes where he just chews on them and steals them. He's really good. Really
Buscemi
good.
for the longest time was, I'm going to steal this movie.
And Bruce Willis is Bruce Willis. I mean, everything he's in is fairly watchable. You know, it's not high cinema, but you don't care. It's just like, oh, this is
Right.
kind of fun. And now all the DC shows are back, so the kids, when we're not off on the baseball field, they want to watch all the DC shows now. So we were watching Titans is back, and Stargirl, and
There's a load of
Supergirl,
them.
and DC Legends, so they're all back.
Flash.
And NCIS has a brand new show coming out. They're in Hawaii now. So since I can't watch Matlock or Murder, She Wrote, that's what I watch instead. Because I'm really like an 85-year-old. So.
Oh, I did forget one movie that we just saw last week in the theater. The new Marvel movie. Was it Shang?
Oh,
Shang?
with the 10 rings, yeah.
What's it called?
Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings or something?
Yes, The
Yeah.
Legend of the Ten Rings.
Yeah.
That was actually
I
really
heard it's
good.
very good.
That was really, really good. The end gets a little bit, once they start that in the air stuff, all
Yeah.
the aerial
Yeah.
attacks, then it's like, all right, you're losing me, man. But prior to that and the end, everybody was great in it. The lead guy, I don't know what his name is, he was really good. Aquafina was fun.
Yeah.
And then they have, Michelle Yeoh, which was great. And then there's this guy, I don't know how it says, I don't know if it's Tony Leung, whatever, but he was like a Hong Kong star.
Yeah.
He did a lot of like the Hong Kong action movies with like John Woo.
Yeah.
I think he did a few John Woo movies, and he did some Wong Kar-wai movies, and he was great. I mean, it was really, really well done. It was really fun.
And then in the testament to just lazy writing, Benedict Wong's in it, playing Wong.
Oh, he's great.
It's just
I like
lazy
that guy.
writing, Petey. Just lazy writing.
I love that guy. He's so good. He's so fun. Oh, speaking of Benedict Wong, I think I talked about this movie a while back. It's called Dirty Pretty Things, and it was with what's that actor's name? Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Oh, yeah.
It's with him, Audrey Tautou, Benedict Wong is in it, and it takes place in London. It's a Stephen Frears movie. It was probably from I think the early 2000s. It takes place in London in like kind of a, cheapish hotel, and it's all about kind of like all those folks that are kind of, in the background, the maids and the
Right.
and the valets and the cab drivers and all these folks. A lot of them may be undocumented workers. And this whole thing is Chiwetel Ejiofor plays a doctor from, I don't know if he's from Nigeria or Sudan, but he can't go back to his home country. And he's a doctor. He's an actual, MD in that country. But in London, he's, working at the hotel and he's driving a cab and he's doing all this other stuff. And there's like this whole undercurrent where there's a black market, like organ trade.
The best kind.
So the guy that works...
It's my favorite kind of trading.
It's a really good movie. I think it's on HBO Max now, but it's really good. It's a little seedy, and there's a whole bunch of undocumented workers, and they're running from, I guess, England's version of is it INS?
Yeah.
Running from
ICE,
hiding from those
yeah.
guys. They're working in like all these little sweat boxes in London, and just all the things these folks are doing just to survive and get out of England and make it to the U.S. or become British nationals. And there's it's really good. But he was in that Benedict Wong. He works in the morgue of a hospital, and he's friends with Chiwetel and kind of helps him out, when he needs to. So, but that guy's been around, and he was great in what's it called too. I liked him in The Martian.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I gotta call up my cousin Tommy.
So yeah, Shang-Chi was really good though. I recommend it. It was fun, and it was nice to see like the martial arts. It feels more grounded and almost like real to a degree. As opposed to the guns and the sabers and all this kind of stuff. I mean, there's that too, but there were
And the spaceships and the Rocket Man and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, after a while, it's
Yeah.
like, okay, it's like I've had enough of that, So, but it was cool. It was really, really good. It was fun.
Anything else, Mike?
No.
Yeah. So Aaron, what have you been watching?
Well, you guys were making me think about...
What did you watch?
When we were talking about Killing Eve, I thought of Sandra Oh, and she is such a solid actress. I just love her. And she's in this kind of short series, not a long one, like 7-8 episodes maybe, right? On Netflix.
I think it might have been 6.
Was it 6 only? Called...
And the beauty of it was only like 30 minutes each.
They were
so
short
like 30, 40
episodes,
minute
yeah. And she plays
That was a fast watch.
college professor who becomes the head of head of a English department, literature department,
Yeah, she becomes a chairman.
at a small
chairperson.
kind of like just under the Ivy League, like Ivy League adjacent.
Right.
And
Well, liberal arts college, Northeast Liberal
Yeah.
Arts College.
And
it's
who's
called.
having a lot of issues with keeping people keeping the place running, and but they want to shake things up, and they give her the job, and she's got to kind of figure out how to manage older folks that are on faculty who are kind of playing out the string, and then younger folks who want to kind of like change things up and make kids excited about learning again. And so she's got to kind of manage all this while her ex-boyfriend, who's a professor there, he's the cool guy, gets in trouble, and she's got to either defend him or not defend him now that she's his boss. And it's got a lot of levels to it.
That was Jay Duplass. He's one of the Duplass brothers.
Okay, I didn't realize that. So she gets to play a strong yet sensitive woman trying to lead a faculty or a department at this place, and she's got her own problems. She's taking care of her older husband or
Right.
older
Her
dad, and she's got a daughter who is adopted and is acting out, and so she's trying to manage all these things and juggle it all and somehow keep it all together. And I'm not sure if it's been renewed for a second season. I thought the first season was pretty strong. I would definitely recommend
Yeah, it was fun. It was
Yeah.
fun. I think it started off slow. It took a little bit to kind of, for me, to find its footing with me. But then once it started rolling, it was actually pretty good.
I actually thought what the premise was going to be was she was an American going to a school in the UK to take over a department, and I didn't realize it was going to just be this Northeast liberal arts school.
I thought it was going to be about a magical chair. That's what I
Well, that was the part B. Maybe that's season 2. So one other thing on Netflix I watched was Money Heist season 5, which picks up where it left off last season.
is all I want to know is Tokyo still alive?
No comment. From season 1, it's gone off the rails, of course. It's this crazy concept of this heist that's taken years and years and years and years to develop, and assembling a team by the lead guy whose name is the Professor, who sees all the angles before they...
Professor.
The Professor. And it's all, by the way, it's in Spanish because it's from Spain. And it's all in Madrid. Let's say Madrid. And
Yeah, it's Madrid. It is a telenovela on crack.
Yes, with lots of violence and...
Oh, yeah. The first couple seasons were fun. I will say that.
And I'm really happy I hung with it. When I was surprised, so this was only 4 episodes, maybe 5 episodes. Well, it turns out, and it ends really weird. And what the heck? This can't. And supposedly the last season. Well, guess what they did? They're splitting up the season 5 into 2 parts. I didn't know that.
Oh, they're pulling a Lupin.
Yeah, exactly, or like every season of Walking Dead.
Every other show.
Yeah. So I didn't know that, so really got left hanging there until I figured it out.
You know what Netflix did?
What'd they do?
They got you for another $20 a month. till
Yes,
the next-
got to stick around.
out.
I think I saw that
They're stringing you along.
it's coming back in the second half, or part 2 of season 5 is coming in December, I believe. So I really enjoy it. And I again, talking about these foreign shows, I really have to watch them because of the subtitles. I just can't have it in the background. The other one, I think, we kind of, it's so weird, but you guys have talked about this, a couple other shows that made me think of this one in a different way, is Reservation Dogs.
Oh, yes. Have you watched it at all?
Mike, do you know that? So it's on Hulu.
It just wrapped up Monday night.
Yeah. So this show is almost an entirely Native American cast and production team.
Yep.
And it's I read that it's the first series ever to be shot entirely in Oklahoma. 4 kids in this small town, all Native Americans, as I said, and they're teenagers, and they want out of this town. They all, from day one, they just one of their group, the 5th person in their little gang, had died the year before, and they just kind of committed to each other that they're going to get out of this town because this town just swallows up people, and there's nothing here to do. So they're all going to raise money, and they're going to go to California. And the very first episode, they actually steal a potato chip truck, and they sell the potato chip truck to a local like salvage yard guy who's also running some little scam on the side.
By the way, I love that guy.
He's great. Yes.
He is hysterical.
So
He is
you've
hysterical.
got so much interesting layers to this show. You've got teen angst. You've got kids that are stuck and they can't get out, but they want to get out. You've got all the levels of Native American issues on reservations in this country and other countries, and how do you get out of that? There's a whole level of mysticism, Native American mysticism going on. Oh. One of the characters keeps seeing a warrior from the Battle of Little Bighorn. He comes to and he talks like a regular guy, and so there's this strange humor.
He's a stand-up comic, apparently.
The guy that plays the warrior.
I think so. He is just so goddamn funny.
So one of the creators. This goes back to one of the shows you guys talked about. Is Taika Waititi? He was the guy who's I want to say directed from What We Watch in the Shadows, the movie, and he's actually in the movie. And the movie you talked about, which one? He's actually in one of the movies you talked about earlier.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
No. Is he in that too?
He's in that
too.
Okay.
No.
He plays the guy who's all made of rock.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, he's in Ragnarok.
He's Ragnarok.
Ragnarok.
Yeah,
he directed Ragnarok.
He's New Zealand, but he's from New Zealand.
Right. He's from New Zealand.
But him and this guy Sterling Harjo, who is actually a Native American, are the guys. Those guys came
from Oklahoma. I think Sterling Harjo's from Oklahoma.
Oh, is he? Yeah. I think it was like 9-10 episodes, maybe 8-9 episodes.
There's 8 episodes,
and I just saw the finale. It was on Monday nights, right? On Hulu.
So good. It was so good. Who's the big guy? The kid's uncle, who's not really his uncle.
I mean the actor.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen him in anything before.
No one
that
in
guy
the
was
show
fantastic.
is familiar to me. They all.
Nope.
There's no one. They're all like starting off.
The only person I think I've seen somewhere else was Bill Burr. He was the driving instructor, or he was. Giving the driver's exam.
Yes. And actually, there's another character who's a Native American mystic. She was also in Letterkenny, Canadian show.
Okay.
Who
the Deer Woman?
The Deer Woman, yes, and she plays a Native Canadian
in
awesome. She's a Native Canadian. So I really recommend that. That it might be the best show I've seen this year.
Wow.
It's that good.
I think it's up there.
A lot. Wow.
Yeah, I think
really it's on par with Hacks.
It's on par with Hacks. Different.
I think it's right on par with Hacks. It's just
the
such
quality
a good show.
of it. You're talking about, like I said, it's got so many levels to it, and especially as it progresses and you start to learn more about these kids individually, and there's a definite connection here. Although it's not, there's no theme of COVID going on, but there's a real sense that these kids are stuck at home, like kids today are or have been with COVID. Yeah. And it's an interesting metaphor for what the youth are going through, I think.
The show's got a lot of heart.
It does.
And the characters, and it's great because they, each character's allowed to, shine for a little bit. Every single one, whether it's the cop, the light horseman, all 4 kids, the kid's uncle, even Bill Burr. I mean, Bill Burr was pretty much like the co-star of the one episode.
He was great.
Same with the girl.
And it laughs at itself. It laughs at its own community and the seriousness that goes on Native American reservations.
And it's got some sadness, and
it's funny, it's sad, there's a whole language going on that you almost have to have the subtitles on because to get the slang. The 2 hip hop twins that ride around and sing.
Funny. They were on. Would they win America's Got Talent?
I think they were on one of those.
I think it's
shows,
where they were discovered.
Yeah. They were so funny. So, Reservation Dogs. That's my winner for where we are.
Oh, Wes Studi. Wes Studi's got a nice little role in it too.
Yes, he. Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. So where are we on alcohol, boys? Are we drinking still? Because that's our job.
I'm moving on to the next bottle in the Impex collection, the Orkney, a 12-year-old, 21-year-old. I'm sorry, 50.8%. It's pretty good. Pretty good.
And it's Orkney.
I like the 40% Catoctin Creek. I'm going to move on to the 46 now.
And
and Aaron, there were a couple shows I didn't get to mention.
Yeah,
here.
go ahead.
So Reservation Dogs in the Chair. I know you're in the middle of it, but I watched season 3 of Sex Education that dropped last Friday.
Yeah, that's in my what we're watching. But yeah, you finished it, huh?
I finished it up. because Saturday night, my wife and Mike's better half were out drinking for a good 6 hours on somebody's porch.
Freedom. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Freedom.
I had the couch, I had the big TV, and I had the remote. So guess what? I'm watching TV.
Boom, baby, boom.
I was up till 3 o'clock in the morning watching TV.
And I had to get up at 5 to go to a baseball tournament, so I couldn't do anything.
I was holding out for drinking, but then I figured, you guys were busy.
Well, we didn't.
That's okay.
One of the things we talked about. Let me pour my next one, which was the 2006 14-year-old Impex Special Edition single cask of Kilchoman, 53%.
By the way, this Catoctin Creek is really good.
They just make a lovely rye. They really do.
They make a really nice rye.
So that's the same rye, the same age, just at
it's the same age,
just at a higher ABV.
They don't put put ages on stairs. I don't think, do they?
Interesting.
No, I don't think they do. No, but the 46 is it's like a soft rye. I don't think it has the sharpness that you always complain about.
Yeah,
Mike, it's got a nice, well-rounded softness to it.
Yeah, it's not one note. Yeah,
but it's not.
No. It's really, really nice, and it's 100% rye.
Oh, it's 100%.
So I don't know if it's
no wheat.
It can't be.
So I don't know if it's
nobody makes 100%.
Nobody
rye.
makes 100%
No,
rye.
inconceivable. Inconceivable.
That's what we were told once, that you just can't do it.
So we talked earlier, maybe things to chat about tonight. Well, one was the Emmys, and not that we watch the Emmys, but maybe Emmy award-winning shows or people, and the Hacks.
Gene
Smart, big winner,
and deservedly so.
Deservedly so. She's just awesome in that.
Absolutely.
And Mare of Eastown. She's just had this stellar 2021. Pretty amazing.
And Mare of Eastown picked up 3.
That's right.
For Kate Winslet and that Julianne.
Julianne Nicholson. I think it's Julianne Nicholson.
And Evan Peters.
So, Emmy nominees. The Crown, of course, was a big focus of the evening, right? And our friend, my friend, Gillian Anderson, who also was nominated for playing Margaret Thatcher, but star of Sex Education. And the fact that she can do the lead in that show, and in this season in Sex Education she's pregnant, her whole ability to play different characters is just mind-boggling to me. And she can sound British better than British people. It's amazing.
I think she's confused with her accent.
I think she is too.
Because you've seen her in interviews and she has like a British accent, but I don't think she's British. I think she spent a lot of time there.
I think she lives in London.
Or is she Canadian?
She lives in London, I believe.
Yeah, she lives over there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So we don't want to talk too much. Mike hasn't seen the show, but that show is so great on so many levels, and this season's even better.
Which one?
Sex Education.
Sex Education.
It crosses it. Similarly to Reservation Dogs, it gets into some pretty serious topics, with kids.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it has in all prior seasons, both seasons, but this season almost a little even more topical.
I really like season 3 because I think it's a little more grounded. Season 1 was great. Season 2 I thought went a little bit too all over the place. This one I think is more about. I think it's about redemption. It's about being able to change and learning from your mistakes and all that. And it's a little more grounded. I think it's a lot more character driven this time, as opposed to plot driven.
Yeah, well, I'm only halfway through.
That's kind of how I felt.
I'm on episode 4, I believe, or I just saw it. So probably halfway through the season. It's just.
But I really enjoyed it.
It's funny.
Yeah,
it's poignant. It's all those things. It's really good. And back to Gillian Anderson, which takes me oddly enough to the X-Files. I know that's shocking. I don't know why. But it also takes me to David Duchovny, who is in the chair as David Duchovny.
David Duchovny.
Oh my God.
David Duchovny.
He is so, in one episode, so good. It's like he could be, this is an Emmy nomination right here for his guest starring role in episode 4 or 5 or whatever it is of The Chair. He is so good.
Playing an alternative reality of himself.
Yes, it's great. But there's some basis to it too, because he did go to some Ivy League school. He is a writer, and it's very celebrity writer coming onto campus to be a professor. Very funny. Okay, so let's go to a sadder part of our little podcast, what we watch when we drink. We've had some celebrity deaths this past month.
Wait, is this The Departed?
This is The Departed.
Departed?
This is the dearly departed part of our
Dearly
show.
Departed. The Dearly Departed.
So we have to raise a toast to a few people here. We're going to
Yes.
start off with Michael K. Williams, who we all know and love, and from various shows, who passed away a couple of weeks ago. Anyone want to jump in and thoughts on Michael K. Williams?
I've seen him in a lot of different shows. I mean, The Wire as Omar, which was his breakthrough role, which is, I mean, does it get more iconic than Omar? I don't think it does.
Before you go too far, if you look at his IMDb, he's one of those guys who started and just became a working actor. And he did, a character part, a small part in Magnum P.I., the new Magnum P.I., or he was in the, 2 episodes of, Laverne and Shirley. Not Laverne and Shirley. But he did a voiceover on some kid's cartoon show, right? He did everything before getting to The Wire. Nothing more than like 1 or 2 episodes. And then he gets The Wire, and boom, his life changes. And since The Wire, it's kind of the same thing. He's had a couple other more big things, of course, more series, but there's a lot of little stuff in there too. The guy just wanted to act. He wanted to work.
Yeah, and he acted in a lot of top level stuff and was recognized. He in the last 5 years or 6 years, he was nominated for 5 Emmys.
Wow. Yeah.
So for a guy who, like you said, was kind of a bit player, waiting to kind of hit his stride, once he hit it, 15, 16, 18, 19, 20, all Emmy nominations.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive for a guy who, before Omar, nobody knew who he was.
Yeah, I think he was in one of some space movie, a couple, he's a little of everything, right? And of course, he became an
really
HBO god, right? Boardwalk Empire, Lovecraft Country, just
The Night Of.
The Night Of. Yeah. He just exuded so much guts and glory in so many of his characters. Just a wonderful actor.
Well, I mean, the beauty of the guy, though, I mean, he could be menacing as can be, or he could just have a whole lot of heart, or whatever it was. Even in, like, The Wire, I mean, he raised all holy hell on that show.
Yeah.
But he had a reason for it, like, they killed his lover, they killed his boyfriend, and, that was it. He just had to get revenge.
Yeah. Just a wonderful actor.
And he had a code.
He had a code.
He was... If you get a chance, he did a really good interview on Mike's favorite interviewer, Mark Maron.
That guy. Oh.
But you know what? It was good because he put the interview on like the day after he posted like an older interview the day after he died, and he cut out all the nonsense in the beginning and just went right into the interview. Yeah. And it was really cool because they sounded like they genuinely bonded over some things, and he just sounded like a great guy. He had his demons. I think he had addiction issues for years.
Yep.
On again, off again, between, cocaine or heroin or whatever else he was on. And he had a lot of issues on The Wire, apparently, when he got, when he got popular with that. I guess he had some money, and he got back into drugs for a little bit. But then he cleaned up his act, and he did a lot of great stuff. He seemed like a great guy, and he put his heart and soul into every role he did.
Yeah.
Now, Ed Asner passed away as well. In some ways, like Michael K. Williams, who was a working actor, started on, probably maybe he goes back to radio, I'm not sure, but he was part of the studio system. He just worked and worked and worked and worked and worked in movies, TV, whatever, all these things, and then he gets somehow he gets the big one, the Mary Tyler Moore Show, and his life changes, dramatically.
Yeah.
And he takes a comedy role, and somehow it gets spun into the same character, spun into another show where it's a very serious show about journalism in Los Angeles. Lou Grant, just what a Emmy Award. You said, Mike, about Michael K. Williams. He's got Emmys and nominations and Golden Globes.
17 nominations.
17 nominations. Yeah.
17 nominations.
It's amazing. Rich, he was in...
And Mike, what was that little story you were telling me about the Hawaii Five-0? With that Asner?
So as a working actor, probably at the beginning of Mary Tyler Moore. He plays a fence on Hawaii Five-0 with Jack Lord.
Nice.
And now, all these years later, when they bring back Hawaii Five-0, they bring him back.
As the same character?
Where now he's same character, where they have to spring him from prison because they need him to help with something.
That's awesome.
So he's one of these guys, career criminal, he's going to be in prison forever. He gets out, and he's this old, doddering, I'm past my prime. What do you need? I'll help you. Please, just get me out of prison. So he gets money to buy jewelry so he can go and be the fence. And this woman perceives him as being this old, doddering guy. And when she's, monologuing, he kills her, takes all the money, and takes all the jewelry and flees. And it was just, such a great wraparound because, his character, and they were intersplicing young pictures of him, not young because he was probably still 40 or 50 then, but young pictures of him from the old Hawaii Five-0 with what he's doing now. And he's
awesome.
the same guy, nothing changed. He's as sharp as can be. He's just played everybody. And it was just really well done.
Yeah, that's very cool.
And there's another story with the great documentarian Michael Moore, where he went and he sent letters to all these established people saying, "Hi, I'm Michael Moore. I graduated from school. I'm going to do this documentary, and would you give me some money?" And he said he sent it out to 100 people. And Ed Asner gave him $500 in a letter, and it says, "I don't know who the hell you are, kid, but it sounds like a good project. Best of luck."
That's awesome.
And he's just like, "Okay."
That's great.
Didn't tell me to pound sand. Just I don't know who you are, but okay.
He worked to the end, right? He was in Dead to Me for a little while.
Dead to Me.
He was in
good size
Cobra
role.
Kai.
Cobra Kai.
Right.
He's in
That's
Cobra
right.
Kai.
He goes back.
Right,
He
plays
plays
his-
Billy Zabka's father-in-law.
He goes.
stepfather.
He goes back to roots, literally.
Yeah.
Rich man, poor man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was just in the biggest of things. Up, of course, the Pixar show.
I was going to say he did the voiceover.
And the other side of him, which luckily it actually has gotten a lot of headlines since his passing, is he was the president of the Screen Actors Guild. Yeah. And it was a big deal when he took over because the Screen Actors Guild was battling, who's going to take us to another level and not let the studios walk all over us. And he battled with Charlton Heston, and who was before him. And he stood up for labor. He comes from a history of pro-labor in his family, and he took that job very seriously, running SAG. Quite a loss. He was just a really great man.
Yeah.
The other name, which actually of the three have really hit me, maybe the hardest, was Norm Macdonald. Passed away last week as we're recording this. Norm Macdonald, most known for his The Weekend Update anchor on SNL. I guess that would be the early 2000s, 90s?
Early 90s.
Early 90s.
Early 90s, I think.
And there have been people who I've heard say he was the best of the Weekend Update anchors. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. If you put maybe him, Chevy for a whole different reason, Chevy Chase, and maybe Dennis Miller, you've got the Mount Rushmore maybe of those guys.
I think that the sarcasm is such an important thing, and he got it right.
He got it right.
Where he wasn't overly sarcastic, where he was being mean-spirited. It was just here's a situation. I'm going to just throw it out here, and you decide whether this makes any sense.
Yeah.
Really, does this make any sense? And it got him fired. He made fun of OJ, and it got him fired. The head of NBC at the time was personal friends with OJ. And
That's
fired him. And that guy carried that with him the rest of his career.
Yep. And then he came back.
Hated him because he did that.
And then he came back to host SNL. And in his monologue, he said he thought, he was gone. And a lot of people thought it was because he wasn't funny anymore. He said, no, it's really the show hasn't gotten any funnier. He had his Dirty Work. It was like one of those underground great comedy films. He had the Norm Show. On Netflix, he actually kind of had a little resurgence. He was fascinating on Twitter. He figured out what Twitter was good for. And he would do live commentary, almost like play-by-play, of live sporting events that he was watching on TV. You could follow him and he would be telling you every putt that Tiger was taking in the U.S. Open, or did football games, he did basketball games. It was amazing, and it was not intended to be funny. It was intended to be observant and depthful, and really an interesting take on social media and how you can talk to people. And he would go on threads talking about a book he's reading and some high concept thought of his in the middle of the night. So instead of getting up in the middle of the night, waking up his wife and saying, "Hey, let's talk about existentialism," he would just go on a rant on Twitter.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
It's like a stream of consciousness show for him.
Totally.
Yeah.
And one of the best guests on talk shows ever. The very final Letterman show, Norm Macdonald is one of the guests with Pearl Jam. He was in that level of.
Why not?
To Letterman, Norm was a god. And when you got people like that saying you're pretty special, that's pretty amazing. So, a cheer to those three.
Wait.
Well, just our movie people.
Quickly mention a few more people.
Oh, go ahead.
It's been a long time since we did a show. Michael Constantine passed away.
Oh, Room 222. Yes. Willard Scott,
the NBC weather guy.
Yep.
He passed away.
Wait. Hey, Mike, going back to Michael Constantine, don't forget my Big Fat Greek Wedding.
That's right.
My favorite wedding. And I am Gus.
Nick.
From the Rolling Stones. One of the Rolling Stones actually passed away.
Charlie
Here,
Watts.
I thought they were so well preserved from all the drugs that they'd never die, or they were already animatronic and Disney had remade them. I wasn't really sure, but
Charlie Watts, right?
Drummer.
And Don Everly, the last of the Everly brothers,
That's right.
passed away. And Sonny Shiba, who, if you've ever watched
Sonny Chiba.
any kung fu Japanese Chinese movie from the 70s or 80s, he was usually the bad guy or fighting somebody in it. And as a hockey fan, Tony Esposito passed away.
Oh, going back to Sonny Chiba, wasn't that in True Romance? He went to go see
That's what he's going to see.
Alabama Whirly.
Yeah.
Right, he goes to see a Sonny Chiba marathon.
And Tarantino brings Sonny Chiba
huge
into Kill Bill.
Right.
Which was, bringing it kind of full circle where he's now in a big established movie with Kung Fu as part of it.
So the list of
life
dearly departed was a little bit longer this month. I'm so sorry to say. Oddly enough, we named no ladies in that list, did we?
No, we didn't.
No, and there were plenty of them in there. I just was looking.
Jane
at
Powell
people
passed
to
away
say-
a couple days ago.
Yeah, Jane Powell passed away, and a few female musicians passed away, but I don't really know enough about them to do them justice.
I got you. Well, cheers to those folks.
Yes.
And I hope they're all together having a good old time and, looking down upon us and laughing.
The cast of the Mary Tyler Moore show has almost been reunited.
Correct.
Just about.
Who's our last? The last one is Betty White, I think.
Betty White?
Yep.
Betty
And
White?
George,
She's
I
the
think
only one left?
Georgette's still alive. Okay, so let's move on to another batch of alcohol. Who's got something?
I have the Clarendon and the Long Pond. Which one should I drink first?
Go with the Clarendon.
Clarendon, yeah.
Because I don't want to get too much noise and funk in the first.
That would be
verse.
that's the.
I would think that'd be the Long Pond, right?
Correct. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Long Pond brings the noise and the funk.
Yep.
And it's a beautiful thing.
What do you got, Ange?
Beautiful.
Oh, I'm not
Beautiful.
complaining. I don't want it, but I just don't want it to be like a palate wrecker. So this is the again the Impex collection, the Clarendon Rum 13 year, 51.4%. Oh, that smells nice.
Like I said earlier, I am excited about the Impex rums that are coming because those two are very good.
Yes, they are. I would agree.
And you got another rye there from.
Yeah, I'm going up. I'm going up a notch. I'm going cast strength, baby.
Nice.
58%.
Hello.
Booyah.
Booyah. And I have another Kilchoman. This is an interesting one. This is a 2011 8-year-old single cask that was purchased for the Jack Rose, a barrel pick by the Jack Rose bar in D.C.
DC. Yeah.
Right. How'd you get a piece of that?
Well, I think Elijah from Single Cask Nation, I think he got the bottle for our tasting somehow.
Nice.
Really?
Yeah, we had a couple Jack Roses in that tasting. Alrighty, what we're drinking is some good stuff.
Well, wait a second. Is that from when the Jack Rose was selling off bottles?
No, it wasn't. Apparently, they
Okay,
got their own.
it was from other nights. Okay, I was going to say
yeah.
that'd be a shame.
There was another. We actually had
It's great
two.
for you if it was, but
Yeah, yeah, yep.
Ooh, by the way,
58.
116.
Mine's
Oh, that's
56.5. So I'm not going to beat you on that one.
I win.
You win.
I win.
I win.
I win for once.
So this next category of what we watch when we drink is what we're watching. So if you're
Watching.
into gerunds,
Watching.
your ing words for all you English lit people,
Grammar
nerds.
Grammar geeks out there.
This is what we're watching. There's lots of stuff in my little queue of things I'm kind of bouncing around in. We've talked about a couple things. Mike, what are you in the middle of watching?
I haven't been able to start anything. But I looked at your list, and because we're back in fall baseball, so that eats up 2 nights a week and then 2 days on the weekend. I really want to start Ted Lasso.
Yeah, you need to.
And now that he won, and 2 other people, I guess his assistant coach and the owner of the team, I guess, they also won.
Yep.
You're like, all right, well, I guess somebody thinks it's a good show because a bunch of people just picked up awards. So I want to watch Ted Lasso and Only Murders in the Shadows, or in the Building. They keep showing the promos for that, and just seeing the interplay between Selena Gomez and Martin Short and Steve Martin is, I got to think the show is tremendous. Unless they were only cut out the very best pieces of it, because she seems so funny cutting them down.
I haven't watched it yet. Honestly, it's not calling me, though.
My wife and I are actually watching this one together, and I think we've watched 3 or 4 episodes. Is it great? No. Is it fun?
Are they doing a weekly drop?
It's weekly drops. Is it fun? Very much so. It's an interesting concept for a show. It's 3 people. They listen to one specific true crime podcast, but they all live in the same building. Don't know each other. But they kind of hook up together because of this. A crime happens in their building, a murder, and they all want to try to solve this crime. And oh, by the way, let's make a podcast out of it. Sound familiar?
No. What is...
Yes. And it is interesting because you got Martin Short and Steve Martin, who in real life are best friends and who work together all the time and are 70-ish, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Or more. I think Steve Martin's in his mid-70s. And you've got 25, 29-year-old Selena Gomez, Disney, Nickelodeon, Disney, whatever child
former
actress.
Disney princess. Yeah.
Pop diva, all those things, right? As the third leg of this chair. And it doesn't seem like it would work, but it does. Is it amazing? I can't say it's amazing so far, but it is very fun. And there's some other folks that show up in the show too. So I do recommend it, and I'm guessing it's going to get a second season too. Sorry to jump in there, Mike, but that was on the list too. Go to Ted Lasso for a sec. That cast, we've talked about.
Are you caught up, Aaron?
Yeah, I am. I saw the last week's episode. That cast is pretty darn solid. It's pretty amazing how good they are. And Hannah Waddingham, she won that. She won the best actress. And who was who else won an award from an Emmy from them? Oh, Jason Sudeikis, did he win?
Jason Sudeikis won.
Yeah, and
then a person won for supporting actor, who I assume is one of his assistant coaches or something. I don't know.
I think that's Brett Goldstein. Did he win?
Is it?
He's amazing.
He's great. He's really good. And he's one of the head writers,
He's one of the head writers, and he's got his own... guess what? You'll never guess. He's got a podcast.
His podcast is pretty good.
His podcast...
It's all the rage.
It is the rage. His podcast is so funny, too. He interviews...
It's really good.
Other celebrities, basically, about movies, right?
What's it called? Yeah, but I forget what it's called. It's like...
It's a strange name. It's...
I'll find it. You just keep talking. I'll find it.
That show has got...
Oh, here we go. Films to be buried with.
That was it.
So the premise is you died on the show. What movies would you take with you?
I've only listened to a few episodes. The one that I'm glad I chose first was with Ricky Gervais. It was so
okay.
darn funny. The character he plays in the show, you would not think of it as him. How he does that voice the whole time is amazing. He plays an ex-football, star, and
he grumbles the whole time.
how he speaks, that was very good. How he growls
He's doing
from
Vinnie Jones? Is that what he's doing?
Is he doing what,
He's
Mike?
doing Vinnie Jones? Is that what he's doing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because Vinnie Jones was an ex-soccer player and footballer.
Oh,
He's got the gravel voice to begin with. I don't think he's putting that on. I think that's the way Vinnie Jones sounds.
Yeah.
The first season was interesting because it was like the fish out of water. So they got all the, lingo issues or language issues and, crossing the street issues and everything's different.
And they don't know a damn thing about the sport, too.
And they don't know anything about sport. So you got all that. This season is much more interpersonal and about the individuals. We've forgotten about the whole, UK living in a different land. That's not the critical thing now. Now we're getting into the meat and potatoes about who these characters really are, and it's really good. It's just the writing is just spectacular, and I think I'm going to get my wife to kind of to watch it. So I might be able to probably rewatch it with her. So highly recommend that one.
It's good. I like it, and it finally is shaping up. I think I said last time we talked that the first 2 episodes kind of didn't win me over. I thought they were a little bit weak at first, but then it starts to make sense as you go through. And I don't want to spoil anything for Mike, but just some of the stuff that Ted's going through kind of creeps back in.
Yeah, and I think they're not afraid to go into some kind of darker areas, which is
right.
All these shows we've talked about, Reservation Dogs, The Chair. Humor is a very fundamental part of the shows, but they go into some very serious topics, and they try to explore them as best they can with humor running through them as well. And Ted Lasso definitely does that.
I think it grounds the shows and it makes them a little more human and relatable.
Yes.
Which I think helps.
Yep.
It's not just a silly comedy. Like Sex Education, I mean, it gets downright silly sometimes.
You think about...
There's a lot of seriousness behind the show.
It's really tough to find, well, for me, just to watch a comedy now. I think I gravitate towards the dramedies in the streaming services more than anything.
Right.
I need humor.
Well,
as
even Hacks.
Yeah. Hacks is
funny. I mean, Hacks is funny
and serious,
but there's a lot of serious stuff going on in Hacks. I mean,
most
there's
definitely.
just a lot of stuff going on there. Hacks and Sex Education and what else? I mean, there's a bunch.
Only Murders in the Building. That's definitely a comedy. There's nothing more high-minded about it. What We Do in the Shadows. Another one we could talk about. Season 3 is ongoing.
Are you caught up on that too?
I am caught up on it. Another one. That's just a comedy. Right.
Did you watch the Atlantic City episode?
The extended episode? That we said?
No, the one that went to the casino.
Oh yeah.
The last one.
Yes.
Oh my God! It's just silly. It's just so silly.
Yes.
The cast is phenomenal. I mean, the cast on this show is just so good.
Yep.
There's not a bad character on this show. And then they brought in, what's her name? Do you remember? You saw the episode before when who's the main guy?
Laszlo.
Not the main guy, but
Nandor.
Not Laszlo.
Nandor.
Yeah, Nandor. But with his on again, off again love interest, Caol. You know who that was, right?
No, who is that?
That's Aida Turturro, who played Tony Soprano's sister.
Really?
That's Janice.
Oh, yes, you're right. Oh my God!
It took me a while to figure it out.
Is this girlfriend?
Funny.
That's funny.
Oh, she was hysterical. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching, and it was like when I was watching when Mark Hamill was on the Jackie Daytona episode, and I'm looking, I'm like, is that her? And then I had to look it up. It's like, yes, it is. It's Janice, because it was bothering me the whole time.
And again, that goes back
great.
to that gentleman that we talked about earlier with those race dogs. It's that
Taika
Waititi.
Seriously, Taika Waititi, just give him all the money.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Give him all the money.
God,
he'll make all the shows.
It's amazing.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, right? He's got a major thumbprint on the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
With Ragnarok. He's got a pretty big influence. He had a nice little piece on The Mandalorian. He did a couple episodes. And now you've got this one. What we do in the shadows.
So is he considered
what we watch in the shadows?
More
What we do in the shadows?
producer director than actor?
He's everything. He's a producer, director, actor. He does it all.
He
really
might handle
does it
the
all.
craft cart. I'm really not sure. He does everything.
Yeah, I heard he caters too.
Wow.
His grilled cheese, probably the best grilled cheese in all of Hollywood.
I just looked up his Wikipedia, and it just says a New Zealand film and television director, producer, screenwriter, actor. Oh, and he's a comedian.
Oh, he's amazing. There's, if you go on YouTube, he did a TED Talk.
About what?
Whatever, storytelling, movies.
Give me an hour.
He's
I'll do a TED
fantastic.
Talk.
He is fantastic. The guy's great. He is really he's an incredible talent. I mean, if you watch that movie I told you about, the Hunt for the Wilder People, it's just so good. It's just so good. The guy's great.
Holy crap!
He really is.
He's done.
Like I said, give him all the money.
Does commercial directing in New Zealand. He's directed Air New Zealand's safety video, which I think is pretty amazing.
Oh my God, that's got to be
with
incredible.
Peter Jackson and Elijah Wood as they go through the Lord of the Rings, where Lord of the Rings was shot.
Is it on YouTube?
Probably
It's
is.
gotta
I'm
be.
looking at Wikipedia.
Oh, I got to see it.
He's done.
He's the bad guy in Free Guy, where he plays like an over the top, computer guy.
Jojo Rabbit. Wow, he's just amazing.
He plays the ghost of Hitler, right?
He was the director and writer for 4 episodes of Flight of the Conchords.
Oh yeah. He had a big hand behind that. Well, him and Jermaine Clement, they're buddies, I guess, because they both did What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah,
They both created that.
Just give him all the money.
I'm telling you, give him all the money.
Anyway, so before we make this the Taika Waititi podcast, future guest of hopefully our future sponsor.
Oh my God, if we can get Taika, that would be a win.
Are you listening, Taika? We need you on. We'll have you on. You can talk about your favorite TV shows.
We want you, Taika.
Come on, bud.
You're the bomb,
Come
baby.
on, bud.
You are the bomb.
You are the bomb.
Hey, question for you, Aaron. How do you feel about the weekly drops? I kind of like the weekly drop.
I'm torn.
I kind of like it. You know what I like about it? I could watch 5 or 6 different shows and not feel like I have to ignore anything else.
So
It's kind of nice.
I think my biggest problem is I forget that there's an episode. Now, one of my iPads will give me this notification.
Well, the Apple Plus stuff will give you a bunch of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I try to watch a lot of stuff through Apple Plus so that I can, I get the notifications. But if you all of a sudden, hey, how did I miss 2 episodes of Reservation Dogs? I just can't remember. Whereas you just watched, you said, in one night, you watched all of Sex Education, season 3. So I think it's good and bad. It feels like I'm watching a lot of shows because of that weekly drop stuff. It feels kind of like the old days, when you're watching Bob Newhart, and you're watching Mary Tyler Moore, and you're watching Magnum PI, and, 14 other shows, because they're all in this.
It's kind of nice, too, because, the thing is, because the season's so short, and because it takes so long for the next season to come back, it's kind of nice to spread it out, so
That's
I
a
feel
good
like I
point.
didn't forget it.
Yeah. One thing I really dislike about the way this is all happens now is that you don't have the standard TV season with the streaming services, right? So, when is Stranger Things coming back? I have no idea.
Yeah.
When is Killing Eve coming back? I have zero idea. It's just going to show up one day, like Money Heist showed up.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's not the same clock or calendar that it used to be. That's still difficult for me.
And I think with some of the shows, too, you don't know if they're coming back.
And you don't know if they're
Right.
coming back, right?
It ended. I guess it's coming back. I don't really know.
Or sometimes
For
you'll hear
network
that
television, it's coming back. They produce a schedule.
you'll hear that they are. In fact, my daughter told me that Reservation Dogs got renewed for season 2. But when will that ever be?
Yeah.
You won't see it. Oh, come fall next year, we'll see it. Who knows when it'll be on? I have no idea.
2026.
Right.
I started watching another one that drops weekly on Showtime, American Rust, which has gotten a fair amount of fanfare here in the last few weeks. For one big reason, there's a similarity to Mare of Eastown. It's in rural western Pennsylvania instead of rural eastern Pennsylvania. It's about a small town cop who is investigating a murder. And that small town cop is Jeff Daniels, who is very good. I'm a Jeff Daniels fan. He's wonderful with language. And in this, he's actually plays it pretty kind of low key, but he's very good. He's an older guy. He's got maybe some opioid issues, but he's a cop, and he's trying to solve a murder in his little town.
Don't judge him, Aaron.
I'm not judging.
Judge.
And
Don't
a
be
little
judgy.
judgy.
Mara,
Don't judge.
Mara,
It's a little judgy, right, Mike?
Mara Tierney.
Tierney.
She's in it as his love interest, who's their on-again, off-again relationship. And our guy, Bill Camp, is in it as well. And
Okay. The guy from the night of.
Yeah. And
was he in the Queen's Gambit
he's
too?
in Queen's Gambit.
He's a janitor?
Yep. So
Right.
I think I've seen 2, maybe 3 episodes. It's a slow burn. It's not happening real quick. What it doesn't have,
Not a lot of jokes?
no, it's not a comedy. It's
no
fairly
jokes.
straightforward.
I need jokes, man. I'm in it for the jokes.
It's a mystery. Who did it? Who did the crime? Whereas Mare of Eastown was really serious about getting that Eastern PA accent.
Hoagie?
Where is that from?
Hoagies?
Delaware
Hoagies.
County. Delaware
Gotta get
County.
your Wawa hoagies.
Delco.
You don't drink your hoagies with water. You gotta get your Wawa iced tea with your hoagies.
There's a unique Western PA dialects, and it is non-existent. And apparently it was filmed in Pittsburgh or outside of Pittsburgh. There's none of that here. It could be anywhere in America, except it's kind of coal town. I was disappointed in the fact that they didn't go a little bit more serious about the language, dialect in the area. What else you got? You watching anything else? Ange? I got a couple other things that I started watching.
Okay, so we talked about Ted Lasso. What we watch in the shadows, which is been so fun. It's just such a fun show. My God, it's a fun show. Okay, if you had to pick, so you got 5 main characters really in the show. Who's
Yes.
your? Do you have an all-star? I couldn't pick. I don't think I could pick.
I couldn't pick, but you know who I really enjoy this season in their short little bits is the woman that runs the Vampiric Council building.
Oh yeah.
I don't know who she
What's her
is.
name?
She's great. She's so funny.
Yeah, she's pretty good.
Yes.
She's really good. I like Guillermo too. I like that he got promoted.
Well, I think Guillermo is he's the heart and soul of the show, right?
He's
you could
great.
argue that
He's
the
just
show
so
is really
funny.
about him.
He's my familiar.
It's all about him. About a guy who can't get ahead in life and thinks he has a great dream. He can't get there. He's all of us, right?
Plugging away.
And there's these other people.
He's like this podcast. We just can't get there.
Totally, yes. And all those 4 other people are those middle level managers who.
Can we change this to the Guillermo pod?
Oh, we
Can we
could.
make it the
Yeah.
Guillermo
No,
pod?
we cannot. We're going to change
Oh,
it
even
to
better.
Gizmo.
The familiar.
Oh, I was going to say the Gizmo podcast.
There you go. The Gizmo podcast. Okay. Alternate title. Gizmo podcast.
I started watching. Let me back up a little bit. Got these kind of weird shows that I just came across. One's on Apple Plus, and it's called Truth Be Told. And I did not know of this show at all. And it stars Octavia Spencer. This is actually in season 2, but I'm watching season 1 with Aaron Paul and Lizzie Kaplan. Octavia Spencer was a journalist, and she sort of solves a crime, but investigates a crime, and that Aaron Paul allegedly committed 20 years before. Allegedly went next door to the next door neighbor's house and killed the dad.
Does he say bitch a lot in this movie? In this show?
He actually does. Yeah, I think he does say that. And so some new evidence has come about, and Octavia Spencer thinks he might not be guilty. She's the journalist that helped get him in jail, and now, or swayed the tide with the trial, and now she has a chance to possibly get him out. And guess what she starts while she's doing this?
A podcast.
A podcast. Yes, a true crime podcast.
Dime a dozen.
Of course.
They're just a dime a dozen.
Oh my God! By the way, one of the great parts I have to say, Mike, you haven't seen it yet. Going back to Only Murders in the Building,
Yeah.
the music in the show is so great because it is a spoof of the music from Serial, the original true crime podcast.
Yeah. That was a good podcast. First one. I didn't watch the second season. I didn't listen to the second season.
You didn't watch Serial?
I didn't listen to
Serial?
I did. The first one, yeah.
Yeah. I think
Anand Syed.
yeah.
Was it Anand Syed?
Yeah,
Right.
Syed. So I'm sticking with this one. I'm gonna read you a little blurb about it. True crime podcaster Poppy Parnell, that's Octavia Spencer, is called to investigate the case of convicted killer Warren Cave. That's Aaron Paul, A man she painted as the murderer of the father of identical twins. One of those is Lizzie Kaplan. Soon Parnell must decide where the lines between guilt and innocence lie when Cave claims that he was framed for the crime.
Okay, here's my question though: who came up with these names? First of all, who's called Warren anymore?
Well, it's 20 years ago, so it's not,
Oh, was it? Is that what it's supposed to be?
Oh, that's okay then.
Warren. No, there's no Warrens. There's no more Warrens. Poppy? Is she like a small English pixie named Poppy?
It's Octavia Spencer. Not.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
I know.
It
It's
doesn't
weird.
work.
Yes.
It doesn't fit. But whatever. That's okay.
All right. And then I came across this one as well in the crime world. It's on Netflix, and it's called Criminal. Within the walls of an interrogation room, London investigators question suspects accused of grievous crimes until the truth comes to light. Each episode is a standalone psychological drama consisting of the interrogation of an individual by a team of police investigators. Every scene is confined to just 3 areas in a single location: a police interrogation room, a darkened viewing room that looks into the interrogation room through a one-way mirror, and the hallway and stairway outside the rooms. So I watched one episode.
Is that the first one with David Tennant?
It might be.
I think I saw the first one.
It's every season is a different country. So the one I happened to turn on it's the UK one. But there's one in France, and one season in France, one season in Germany, let's say. Yeah. So the one episode I watched was really interesting. They bring in a guy who's a truck driver who they allege was moving illegal aliens somewhere in England from another country, and it left the truck, and people are in the truck freezing to death because he just abandoned the truck of some sort. And they are trying to get out of him that he did this, why he did this, and where the truck is, because they need to find these people. And they break him down or try to, through interrogation, various means. It's a pretty interesting idea for a show. And
is there waterboarding?
There's no waterboarding, but and each episode is a different crime. So
beatings? Is there a beating? Does anyone use a telephone
There
book?
is a lot of.
Does anyone get beat with a telephone?
There's a lot of
bag of oranges.
Insults.
Is there a bag of oranges?
Bag of oranges.
There's just a constant insulting attitude from all the cops. Hey,
that's funny.
Tell us, or we're gonna hang you. And the other one I started, it's very bizarre. I don't know. I'm not sure what to think about this thing. It's called On the Verge. It's a Netflix show. It's 4 women, a chef, a single mom, an heiress, and a job seeker who, I'm reading this from, I think, Netflix's site, dig into love and work with a generous side of midlife crisis in pre-pandemic LA. It stars Julie Delphi, who I think she wrote it or created it, Elizabeth Shue, Sarah Jones, and Alexia Landau. I saw someone say that it's like Sex and the City, and there's probably some part so that's true. These 4 women are trying to figure out who they are and try to navigate life and family and all. It's very odd, and it's I don't know whether and it's short. They're only like 30-minute episodes. Elizabeth Shue plays a dress designer who is basically high all the time, and Julie Delphi is a French, and she's a chef. She has a restaurant in Santa Monica or Venice, and she's got a husband who's kind of a jerk, and he wants a French husband, and he wants their son to learn French, and the kid basically wants to learn English. She's battling with this guy and doesn't really like him, even though they're married. It's weird. It's strange. I read ahead a little bit about it, so I may stick with it because it sounds like it might get better. I don't know how it showed up in my, hey, you should watch this on Netflix, but it did. So I think those are the ones I'm watching at the moment.
I started Scenes from a Marriage, the one with Oscar Isaac and Jessica Chastain on HBO.
Is that a movie or a series?
It's a short series, and apparently it's based on like an Ingmar Bergman series that he did back in the 70s.
Huh.
And it's the guy that did it is Israeli. I can't think of what he did, though. I can't think of his other shows. But he might have done In Treatment or one of those. But it's interesting. It's basically, I guess it's just a marriage falling apart, you know? And it's a little rough to watch. The first episode was a little tough, and apparently it gets even more
HBO and
harrowed as you go.
HBO and Netflix loves that. They just absolutely love that that theme.
They greenlight every one of those.
They do, and I find it highly annoying. But yes,
I have to say that what's his name was really
those.
good. Watching what?
The Marriage Falling Apart shows. They're all.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of them.
But the thing is, though, I really like Oscar Isaac, though. He's really good. And Jessica Chastain's okay. I mean, I don't know. She's good in this. I really liked her in this. But they are really good together. And apparently they were both at Juilliard around the same time.
Really?
So they have a history, and they're friends from way back. So it's kind of interesting to see them do it. But, it was the first episode was kind of tough. So
you know
we'll
whose
see.
Scholarship Jessica Chastain got, right?
No.
Robin Williams.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
She is now playing. She's now in a new movie she's Pat Robertson's wife.
Eyes of Tammy Faye or something?
No, not Pat Robertson. Jim Baker.
Jim Baker.
Jim Baker.
Tammy Baker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no interest in that one.
Yeah, they asked her what it was like, and she said something about, she thinks she's taken years off of her life with the makeup. That's like,
funny.
It's just totally unhealthy. I've ruined my skin. Everything's awful. And,
I don't really have much of an interest in seeing that. I wonder who did it. It almost has a look of like that I, Tonya movie. Did either one of you see that?
no.
Nope.
I watched it. What's her name was great. The acting was great, but there was something with the tone of that show that just threw me off. Like it's supposed to be funny, and then meanwhile, what's his name? Sebastian Stan is like beating the crap out of her on several occasions. I'm like, this is not funny. This is not funny at all. And it was very strange. It was really, really strange. But I started that. I watched the first one. I'm going to go back and watch it, though. Everything I've been hearing about it is it just gets more brutal as you go. So I don't know if I'll be able to make it through. And I watched the first season of, remember this show called Enlightened with Laura Dern?
Oh yeah.
It was a Mike White show.
I did not watch it, but I know of it.
I watched the first season. It was good, but I'm not going to lie, it was tough to watch. And just about every episode I had to stop and take a break because she was just so over the top. She was really good.
I'm not a big Laura Dern fan.
She was just so, and I watched it because I finished The White Lotus, which I really enjoyed, and I really liked it, and I liked Mike White as a writer. So I started watching this Enlightened, then I stopped at season 2. I have to go back and pick up the second half. So it's an interesting show, but there were times when it was tough to watch. It was really, really tough to watch, and I'm still trying to work through Patriot. I just forget about it, and then I go back. I'm like, oh, Patriot's on.
I love The Patriot.
It's great when I watch it. I mean, it's really the episodes are really good. It's a really interesting show, but I just got to go back and finish it. The guy's great. The lead actor in it, I can't think of his name, but he's very, very good. So that's where I'm at with those shows.
All right. Well, how are we doing on our
on drinks
beverages?
I just had the Catoctin Creek, so I had the 3. Mike, you have to go to the Long Pond, don't you?
I'm going to the Long Pond. I got a 13-year Long Pond, 53.6.
Going to go to Jamaica, man.
It's got a little bit more of the funk than the Clarendon.
Oh, yeah. Much more.
That's delicious, though. That's so good.
So I am going to another single cask of Kilchoman, 2012, 8-year-old in a ruby port cask, 55.8. This was a single Southern California Whiskey Club pick. That last year we picked this one, and it was a very small number of bottles, so very good.
When they say it's in a ruby cask or a port cask or all the stuff they do, is that 3 months, 6 months, a year?
I believe this one. It's funny. I think this one
the whole time.
I actually have the bottle. I can dig it out. I believe it was 6 months. I believe. Yeah. It's very red.
So what do? They do bourbon cask for the
this was
first
bourbon
whatever,
cask,
and then
I
they
went to
finish
the
it in a
port cask. Yeah.
Okay.
So as we get to the end here, we're going to talk about what's coming up. A couple of things we've mentioned, I think. Maybe we'll save the big one for last. And you mentioned Schumacher. I want to watch that as well. Another doc that I want to watch is Val. The Val Kilmer doc on Prime.
Yeah.
So if anyone doesn't know about this, Val Kilmer, from a very early age in his life as a kid, had a video camera and recorded everything in his life and kept doing it. And now he's in his mid to late 50s and kind of at the end of his career because he has had throat cancer. Is that right?
Throat cancer. Yeah.
Throat cancer.
Yeah.
And had a tracheotomy, so he doesn't really speak much anymore. And so I don't know who directed this and put it together, but they took these thousands of hours of his life's filming about himself and put it into a documentary about Val Kilmer. We have a friend, Ange, that told us about it and said that it's really good. So I am interested, because I liked Val Kilmer when he was in his prime. That dude was a force, from Real Genius to one of the Batman movies, and
yeah.
Don't forget Top Gun.
Top Gun. Yep. Tombstone.
Have either of you seen Kiss Kiss Bang Bang?
Yeah.
He was really good at Kiss Kiss. That is actually really fun. Yeah. That is a really, really fun movie. I liked him. I liked Robert Downey Jr. and what's her name? Moynihan? What's her name? Michelle Monaghan?
Oh, Michelle Monaghan, yeah.
Michelle Monaghan.
Yeah, she was great. Everybody was good in that show. That was a really good movie. Because I think it's a Shane Black movie.
You know, that the documentary Val kind of reminds me of what came out this year. Sully Old Moonfry, the one that was Punky Brewster.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She did the same thing, where she had a video camera, was obsessed with it, and throughout her child actor age, she filmed for 10 years or whatever it was, and they just made that into a documentary called Kid 90s or something. And it's her and all the young kids, some of whom have passed away from drug overdoses or fallen by the wayside because of financial mismanagement and hard times and everything. But it's interesting to see all these people who at the just the beginning of all their careers and how bright it was going to be, and then maybe it didn't turn out that way.
So there's this anime called Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, I saw that. They're doing a live action movie.
They're doing a live action series on Netflix.
Right,
I think it comes out in November. I think I saw.
Right.
And I haven't seen the trailer, but the trailer's out. Starring John Cho. They usually don't work too well when you try to make these things in live action. So that's coming, I think, in November on Netflix. One thing that came up on my Netflix to look at too, is a series called Jaguar. I believe it's Spanish. 1960s, a Holocaust survivor joins a group of self-trained spies who seek justice against Nazis fleeing to Spain to hide after World War II. And it's based on true stories. It looks really good. And I think I'm not sure, I think the main character's code name is Jaguar, I believe. That looks really good. Jon Stewart's got a new show coming on Apple Plus.
Have you seen the promo for it?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
He gets a good look at himself and he says,
Yes.
I should have done a podcast.
Isn't that funny? The Problem with Jon Stewart is the name of the show. And I'm assuming it's going to be somewhat like The Daily Show. We don't know. I'm not sure. I like listening to Jon Stewart, so that should be pretty interesting. And he'll be going up against his buddy on HBO, right?
John Oliver.
John Oliver,
Yeah,
to some extent. I'm assuming it'll be a weekly show. I'm assuming on Apple Plus. And then the big one, I know, Ange, you're excited about it. I am too.
Pumped.
Succession, season 3, right?
Season 3, yeah. Actually, going back to the What We Watch thing, during my 24 hours on a plane and, hours of downtime in the hotel, I did a rewatch of season 2.
Of Succession.
And that show, it's just fantastic.
Yeah.
And what's great about it is, like every really good show, when you go back and watch it a second time, you catch all those little things you missed. You have those aha moments. Like, Mike, you haven't watched it at all, have you?
I watched the first 3 or 4 episodes of season 1, but I fell away.
You got to get back into it.
Well, you
really
told me
do.
I have to now. You commissioned me.
Oh, yeah, you have to.
I get 2 hours a night, right? Banging out no time.
It's so good. It's just so good. The cast is phenomenal. The writing is great. It's funny, but when you go back, you realize that there's a lot of sadness. All of them have some form of abuse or other that they're all dealing with, and whatever trauma they've dealt with in their lives, and how it kind of manifests into their adult lives. But it's just, the show's on just so many. It's really good. It's really, really good. In season 2, there were just a couple. Like I think I was telling you, Mike, or maybe I was telling Aaron. There's this one scene in season 2 where Tom is throwing bottles at this guy Greg, and it just didn't click with me the first time. Like, what kind of set him off? And then when you watch it and you know what happened before, it's like, oh, okay, this all makes sense.
Yeah, you were saying that. It all comes back.
Yeah, it's really good, and just the acting is just fantastic. Everybody's great. Kendall's great, and I mean, what's his name? Jeremy Strong, and everybody. It's just a solid cast. It's just a great show. I think you would like it and when you really get into it even more, like all these great shows, it just starts getting like more layers to the show. It's just great. It's well worth it. So you got about 3 weeks to burn through 26 episodes.
That's what you told
24
me. 2 hours
episodes.
a night.
You can do it. Listen, Mr. Insomnia, you can do it.
Stop watching Armageddon and watch something good.
Right. Just pop that on. It's an hour. It's it's good, man. You can motor through it.
I read that there's a couple of new characters coming in, so that'll be interesting too.
Yeah, my only concern though, my only fear is like, they're going to bring in like these big names. And I think sometimes like with, how it took a couple episodes to get used to Kate Winslet and Mare of Eastown.
Yeah.
It's like distracting. Like in season 2, they brought in Holly Hunter.
Right.
And that was she was great. She was really good, but it was a little bit of a distraction at first because it's like, well, it's Holly Hunter. What's going on here? Because really, with the exception of Brian Cox, the rest of the cast, not that there were nobodies, but you didn't really know who they were.
I think you find
at least I didn't.
It's a very common formula for big shows. You've got a set cast, but you got to do something different in season 2 and season 3. And instead of just changing the story, they will bring in more characters. And part of that formula sometimes is bringing in big name people. And it's sort of jarring sometimes because
it is. I think it throws you off.
You have this family that in Succession's case, you have this family of people that that you got to know in season 1, 7 or 8 people and 4 or 5 main stars. And you're invested in them, and all of a sudden they throw you Holly Hunter or whoever. And sometimes I think the big name is actually worse. As great as the actor might be, it's sort of weird. It's sort of strange to throw that at you.
Hey, you know what? I just remembered one thing. Speaking of like a star coming on to just a show to do like a cameo or do another part, Michael K. Williams on Community.
That's right. He was on Community.
He was in that for a little bit, and that kind of throws you off because he was like a teacher, wasn't he?
Yes, he was a teacher.
Omar's a teacher. Yeah. I don't think so.
Yeah. No, he was great. He was great. The man's awesome. But yeah, Succession season 3. I'm pumped for this. I hope it doesn't disappoint me.
Well, I think
really
it's the kind of show that probably will in some ways because it's built up that level of excitement. And it's can never almost match the expectations.
Well, and let's not forget, it's been 2 years.
It's been 2 years?
It's been 2 years. Because remember when we had Greg on? We had Greg Swartz on the one time?
Yeah.
We were talking about the best shows of 2020. And then we're thinking Succession. We're like, no, that was 2019.
Jeez.
Because that ended around November. Right around like November or December of 2019.
And this goes back to my calendar issue with the way streaming services work and getting things produced. Yeah. And nothing comes out in a timely fashion anymore.
Well, and with this one, you had a year of pandemic, so that just added an extra wrinkle.
Yes. Inexcusable. I'm not buying it.
Yeah, and then poor Better Call Saul. That poor bastard couldn't finish his show, and he winds up having a heart attack.
Yeah, but I think he's back filming. Yeah, they're back filming. I think. So
I think 110 degrees in New Mexico probably didn't help.
No, not at all. So that's the big one that I think we're kind of excited about. I think there's other ones out there coming, but that's the big one. And I think it starts next week. Am I right?
October 17th.
Oh, October. I'm sorry. Yeah, about 3 or 4 weeks from now. So
the clock is ticking, Mike. Tick-tock.
You got a lot of time.
And because I'm like an 85-year-old. CSI is coming out with the original show, but they're calling it CSI Vegas. And William Peterson's going to be on the show.
What?
He's a great actor. William Peterson's going to be on the show.
He is a great actor.
They're bringing it back on a limited time basis, and William Peterson's going to reprise his old role in the show.
I've never watched an episode. Ever.
Pretty excited to see that?
I saw one of the best threads on Twitter from this author, journalist, who's pretty serious on the political side of things. And she went on this really interesting thread about how the CSIs. What are the names of the other ones? CSI and Law and Order.
Miami and New York.
No, not the state. The different series, not the different. There's the CSI world, and then there's
the NCIS?
NCIS world,
and then the
don't forget
the LNOs.
Why are these things still going? And she fully admitted she doesn't get it, but she watches them too. How many millions of people watch these things every week? They're very, very freaking popular. I'm only guessing. It's probably very solid writing. It's very, very solid acting. You know what's going to happen every week. It's very, very consistent. You're not going to get surprised, and it's there for you. It's just always there, like a.
They're the McDonald's and Burger King of TV.
They are.
They're better. Come on, they're better than that. Come on.
Well, who's got the better? Who has the better fries?
Mike,
CSI
I had
or
a quarter
NCIS?
pounder with cheese on Friday night, and it was fantastic. So that wasn't a slight against McDonald's. I'm saying you know what you're getting, and you go back to it again and again.
I think the big thing with those shows is they got real movie actors who, for whatever reason, decided they didn't want to be movie actors for a finite amount of time and decided to be in these shows. Like William Peterson, he's a tremendous actor. He was in CSI for 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it was. Mark Harmon had his hand on the big screen, decided to do NCIS, and he's just never going to stop doing it.
Hey,
now he's 16 years in or whatever it is.
The star of Summer
Same thing with Mariska Hargitay.
Never toss aside a steady paycheck.
No.
Well, but years ago, it was the small screen, and it was almost a step down to be in it, and you couldn't get paid like you're getting paid now. And you're Pernell Roberts, you're getting into Bonanza, and you're leaving as soon as you can to greener pastures. You're David Caruso, who left 2 shows, and I don't know if he's even working anymore. You're just like...
Well, it's funny though. This one time I was in New York. My youngest did like some extra work in a movie, and there were a whole bunch of people there, and they were all talking. A couple New York actors who were waiters or whatever in their day jobs, and they just kind of do side gigs.
Yeah.
But they're like, if it wasn't for Law and Order, there'd be a lot more out of work actors out there.
Oh, totally.
There's probably going to be like what was it, Dick Wolf? Is that the guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be like a Dick Wolf Square in New York at some point because he's kept so many actors in business.
And the other thing that he does, you're talking about like special guest stars being on stuff. There are so many people who are on Broadway, and Wednesdays is their dark day. So he'll get somebody to go and be like, could you do like maybe 10 minutes and be a defense attorney? Could you come and be a judge? And they're all like, sure, I'm off today. I don't have a problem with this. And you're looking at people and you're like, wait a minute, this person... While they were being Tony nominated for whatever they're doing, you're showing up here. You're like Judge Judy. What are you doing up here? And it's just really interesting how he gets all these people to be actively involved in these shows. And again, you keep the cast intact, or for the most part intact. You age people out. I mean, that Belzer was on Homicide, and then went and took that same character up onto Law and Order, and he played Munch for 20 years or something, and then finally retired because he said, well, if you were a police officer, you would work for like 20 or 25 years and then you would retire. So I probably should retire now. It's brain candy. You're not really killing yourself figuring out what's going on, but it's still interesting shows.
The networks are very smart. The ones CBS, I guess this is mostly, and NBC, right? Those are the two. ABC doesn't really have that, but they got really smart and they've exploited these things over the last 20 years. Because they're really solid. They bring in their numbers, they bring in the advertising dollars, they bring in the eyeballs, and they keep going.
CBS for their wheelhouse. They know that they're not going to get the young kids for the most part, but the young kids don't buy anything. Their parents do.
Yeah.
So they're going to get their parents, and they aren't going to be the people who are going to go to Hulu and Netflix and pay all the subscription services, but they're going to show up every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday to watch Law and Order, SVU, Law and Order Ambulance Chasers, Law and Order, Cops, whatever's next with them, Law and Order Staten Island. They don't care. They're watching it all.
They just keep bringing them. Well, boys, we did another, what we call it here at the Jewish holiday time of year, we did another mitzvah. We are bringing the people
we didn't finish, though.
We've done a good deed.
We didn't finish.
Nah, there's more. There's more stuff that in the what to watch. It's
I'm
just
sorry.
You do? What
I'm
more
sorry, I
is
thought
there?
we were done.
Let's see. Okay, I'm just going to run down the list. So Succession Season 3 is coming. The Goldbergs is coming back, which is always good fun. Love the Goldbergs. Did you see this one thing on Disney Plus? Star Wars Visions?
I saw that's coming out, yeah.
That looks like fun. That could be a potentially fun show. David Chang has a food show coming to Hulu called
What?
The Next Thing You Eat with David
What?
Chang. Yeah. So that's coming
He's
in
off
like
of Netflix?
I don't know. He's going where the money
Wow.
is, man. My show Insecure with Issa Rae on HBO is coming back for season 5. That's like my list of the next like month and a half. And then there's a few movies that are coming out soon. So Dune is coming to the theaters, and it's going to be on HBO Max. So it will be on HBO Max very soon. And let's not forget, there's a Bond movie coming out. It comes out in a week or 2 weeks. No Time to Die.
Yeah.
And
Although he looks
possibly
old.
the last one.
He does.
He looks old.
It might be the time to die, is what you're saying.
It might be.
It might be. I can't quite figure out what it's about, but I know that the guy directing is Cary Fukunaga, who did the first season of True Detective. So he is directing that. Oh, and it's funny, going back to David Chang. Did you listen to David Chang this week, Aaron?
Yes, I did.
I think it was I think it was maybe Monday or whenever it was. But him and his crew did an entire 15-minute rant about why they can't have Cary Fukunaga on their podcast.
Yes.
They're like, he's just too talented. He's too good looking. He's going to be a distraction. We're not having him on the show. It was just the funniest rant I think I've heard in the longest time. Oh, and I still got to see Roadrunner, the Bourdain documentary. I think it's available for either streaming or on demand. I might actually pay to see that one.
Wow, look at you. You got a list. That's good.
All right. Now you could end the show.
Now we can end the show.
Jesus.
We've covered so much TV and movies, and we got any wrestling shows we're going to be watching soon? Or
there is actually a wrestling show on Stars, apparently. Heels?
There's, what's it called? Heels.
Yeah, I haven't watched it.
I actually considered jumping into that. It's about the heels, and it actually looked kind of interesting. It might be.
It's getting decent reviews. Did you see that? What's that one? Fighting with My Family, the one about that wrestler. It was with the woman. What's her name? Florence Pugh.
Florence Pugh.
She's in Black Widow.
Yeah, Black Widow.
And Steve Merchant, I think, directed it. And what's his name is in it? One of the guys from Shaun of the Dead. Not the thin guy, but the bigger guy. What's his name? I can't think of his name, but it's about a wrestling family. I think it's a true story, right? It's about one of the female wrestlers in the WWE.
Sure,
that's pretty good. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, speaking of wrestling, there is Heels, so you can watch that.
Wow, look at that.
Okay,
we have covered all the bases for all of you guys.
Now you can wrap it up.
Now we can wrap it up. Well, we have covered many bases here in episode 18. Were we kind of on hiatus? Can we say we were on hiatus? And make it sound like
we took a little break. Can we call this
season 2? It's a hiatus.
Should we call this season 2 or just go with episode
season 2? But let's not start renumbering. I want to keep going.
Okay, 18. All right, let's keep going.
We're S2, episode 18.
Episode 18. Right. Okay, fair enough.
Or /S, episode 1. You can number it out however you want at home if you're scoring at home. Uh-huh. If you're scoring at home, God bless you. Anyway, thank you for tuning into our little podcast here, What We Watch When We Drink, episode 18. Gilo, good to talk to you. Mike, good to see you. Welcome back to the country, Mike. Welcome back to the continental United States, Gilo.
Thank you. Should I take us out?
You'll take us out. We'll be back with another fine episode on all your local podcast
in about 6 months?
Soon. In about 6 months.
That'll
be season 3, episode 19.
6 months and 6 hour podcast coming soon.
We're part of the BBC now.
That's going to be
back. We'll be back infrequently.
All right. So if you enjoyed this show, if you survived this show, if you're still awake, please subscribe to our podcast. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Audible, Google, and anywhere else you can get your podcasts. And you can always find us on boozdancing.com. And if you have questions, comments, suggestions for future shows, I don't know, begging to get us off the air, all that good stuff, email us at boozdancing@gmail.com. Gentlemen, as always, it was a pleasure.
Good evening.
It was. I believe our next episode will be mostly talking about the Stanley Cup playoffs, because that'll be like June of 2022. So we'll be very, very hockey-centric by our next
Hey, here's the question. By the next episode, you think Ben Simmons will have a new home?
Ooh, that's a good
I
one.
hope so.
Over under on Ben
And-
Simmons' new home by
And how
by
many
our next
players
episode.
will the Sixers have to give up to get rid of Ben Simmons?
6.
6. Will they be current
6.
players or will they be future draft choices?
I don't know. We're going to
What's the
find out.
combination on that?
Stay tuned, folks. Stay tuned. Gentlemen, as always, cheers.
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 Peace, guys.
Ding.
Peace.